Hi guys, and welcome to this video on the partial solar eclipse that happens on the 29th of March 2025. Thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure to be with you today. This is a new moon in Aries. In my time zone, I'm in the UK. It happens at 10:57 in the morning. And eclipses are very significant in the sense that either the new moon or the full moon process is interrupted. And because of that, the influence lasts for about 6 months. And this eclipse is wonderful as far as I'm concerned because it really represents an opportunity for significant change, especially as far as your own identity is concerned. So in terms of the logistics, the way this works, we've got the sun here, we've got the moon in the middle, so the sun is shining its light onto the moon, and the shadow of the moon then falls onto the earth. And this is a partial solar eclipse, so the sun isn't going to be completely blacked out, it's only going to be partially blacked out. And the chart you see next to me here, that's a snapshot of the sky at the moment this eclipse happens. In a natal chart, in any kind of chart, the sun represents the identity that you're aspiring towards, the self that you want to embody, the self that you want to become. And because this is partially blacked out, I really feel that this is an opportunity to have a sense of completion as far as who you are is concerned and the things that you haven't been able to quite get a grasp on. So the things in you that are unhealed, or the things about yourself and your life and your own identity that feel like they haven't come to fruition yet, or things about yourself that you haven't quite understood. You're able to see those things in the dark, and you're able to get answers that you haven't been able to get in the past. And I think it's going to be really empowering. And this lasting for the next 6 months until August, there's an opportunity to really see yourself very differently, to heal things inside of yourself in a completely different way. And also remember that we have two of the personal planets, Mercury, the communication planet, and Venus, the planet of love and beauty and creativity. They're both in retrograde at the moment. So with Mercury being retrograde, on the downside, you have problems with communication and transportation in a real world setting. But the opportunity of a Mercury retrograde is to see things differently. And with this affecting the sun, you're able to see yourself differently. And with Venus retrograde, it's not the best time to start a new relationship or a new business, because what you love, or what appears to be lovable as far as you're concerned, that's also very different. And the plus side of that is that you're able to fall in love with things that usually you wouldn't consider as worthy of your time or your affection or your care. So this is really, really interesting. I want to analyze the chart that's next to me here. You'll be able to see this in North America, in Europe, in Russia, and in parts of Africa. And yeah, let's have a look. So first of all, we've got the sun and the moon. They sit together, they conjunct each other at 9 degrees in Aries. And that's the new moon part of this. So during a regular new moon, the moon goes pitch black. It takes a moment to say, I'm no longer in the spotlight. I'm having a private moment here to pull in a lot of energy to start my next 28-day cycle. And I'm also taking this time in the dark to kind of get my bearings and to consider what seeds I want to plant in future and what I want to grow and what I want to focus on. And I think with this, it's an opportunity to really say, where have I been ineffective, or where have I felt like I have fallen short? Where am I unhealed? And how can I plant seeds that will complete myself, so to speak, that will complete these areas of my own identity that up until now have been out of my reach. So you'll see the sun at 9 degrees in Aries. The sun at 9 degrees, 9 in numerology is spirituality and completion. And that's the end of a cycle. And it's a contradiction between the number 9 and the astrological sign Aries, because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it's about new beginnings. It's about dawn. It's about, I've got the whole day ahead of me. How am I going to use my energy? What am I going to drive towards? And what is it that I want to accomplish? So the sun represents what you want to embody, what you want to become. The moon represents your heart. It represents your feeling. It represents what seems like home to you, what makes you feel like, oh, this is where I can decompress and where I can kind of come back to and just rest and feel like I belong. And that being at 9 degrees as well in Aries, it means that certain things that have made you feel uncomfortable or ill at ease in your own skin, in your own heart, they will come to a completion point, and you'll find a new way of beginning, or a way of operating that feels completely new and different, and like you're starting a new cycle. So next to the sun and the moon at 9 degrees, we have Chiron, the wounded healer. It's an asteroid that in a natal chart represents the shadow self and where your ego tries to hold you back. In this case, it's at 22 degrees in Aries, and 22 is the master number of the builder. And in Aries, it's an opportunity, again, to heal the self, to build something really solid, to take action, to complete the self, and to behave in ways that you wouldn't have considered up until now. So I feel that with this eclipse, nothing will ever be the same, because you're going to behave very differently, and that's going to have this outcome that you take care of yourself better, that you address things that are unhealed in you, and that you finally find the answers and the ways to heal those things which make your life more difficult than it has to be. On the other side of this new moon, this eclipse, we have Mercury at 0 degrees in Aries. So when we have something in a chart at 0 degrees, I always say that you get the quintessential nature of that planet, that energy. And Mercury in Aries is very direct. Mercury, the communication planet, says, this is my perception, this is my perspective on things, this is how I make sense of the world, of myself, of what's going on around me, of my own heart, of my own feelings. And in Aries, it says, I am now going to move forward with my understanding, and I'm going to express what I see as the truth and what I see as worth communicating. But again, because it's in retrograde, the wonderful thing about this is that, yes, on an everyday level, it could make life more difficult when it comes to, the name on the ticket appearing as exactly accurate. Or if you're in the middle of writing contracts, there may be some errors that crop up. The good thing about this is that in retrograde, you're able to see yourself, or the parts of yourself that are missing or that are incomplete. You're able to look at that in a way that's completely different. And you're able to look at other alternatives to healing, to becoming the self that you want to be. So I feel that in this case, the Mercury retrograde is a major asset, because it gives you the books, so to speak, that haven't been available to you in the cosmic library and the Akashic records, and you're able to find your own role in things, or you're able to become self-aware to the extent where this is what I haven't seen about my own actions. This is what I've overlooked in terms of the way I operate in relationships or in business or in creating security for myself. and I'm now self-aware enough to the point where I can see how I behave. It's almost like you're zooming out of yourself and you're able to look at the way you show up in every kind of aspect of your life, and the way you behave in a way that's incomplete, that then manifests circumstances that are incomplete. So Mercury, in this case, it gives you an opportunity to really find the information that usually wouldn't be available to you. And then this being in Aries, once you have that information, you're able to implement it, you're able to act on it, and you're able to start on a new journey. You're able to not take flight, but to jump into action, to start this new process with information that hasn't been available to you before. Then we also have a lot of Pisces nearby. So we have this stellium of Chiron, the Sun, the Moon, and Mercury. A stellium is Stellium, and it's three or more things that are sitting together. And then we have a stellium of Pisces next to it, which again is very interesting in this eclipse, because it is about the end of one cycle and the beginning of a new cycle, which is demonstrated via this new moon in Aries at 9 degrees and ending, but then at the same time being in Aries. So what we've got in Pisces, we have Venus, the planet of love and beauty and creativity. That's at 28 degrees in Pisces. 2 and 8 is 10. 10 reduces to 1 in numerology, and that's about taking action, taking charge. And it's in Pisces, and Venus in Pisces is very spiritual, it's very forgiving, it's very much about the end of a cycle. It's about hindsight and saying, these are the things that I loved, and these are the things that I had affection for and cared about, and where I was creative. And I have the benefit of hindsight, and I can see what has worked for me and what loved me in return and what didn't work out for me. And again, with it being in retrograde, you're able to see your identity and the affection and the care that you have for yourself, and you're able to see those parts that are missing, where you could have been a little kinder, or where you could have practiced better self-care in order to operate at 100% capacity instead of, let's say, 95%. So again, I don't think it's a bad thing that we have both these personal planets in retrograde, because they offer solutions and they give new information about who I am in an actual sense, the way I communicate, the way I show up, but also the way I feel about myself, and what energy and what kind of dynamic that creates, the vibe I give off to other people, the energy I give off to the world. So, like, there's no rhyme or reason. Sometimes a person will appear or enter a room and you can immediately feel like a dark cloud has suddenly entered the room. And another person may show up and also not say anything, or just open the door and come in and close it behind them. And suddenly the room feels much brighter and feels like something has lifted, right? This is an opportunity to see the shadowy parts of your own identity, how you can love yourself through those things so that you can heal and remove anything that kind of blights your own self, the energy you give off, so that you become a presence which is more lovable and more easy to love and care for, because you're doing it for yourself. Then we have the higher octave of the personal planet Venus, Neptune, sitting 1 degree away from Venus at 29 degrees in Pisces. And Neptune is at the very end of its journey in Pisces. It's going into Aries on the 30th of March. So it's interesting that this is the last day where we have Neptune in Pisces, because Neptune is the planet of the subconscious. It's the planet of the intuition. It's the planet of dreams and creativity and the kind of unseen energy that connects us as human beings. And in the sign that it rules, Pisces, it's very comfortable, it's very happy. 29, if you add that up, 2 and 9 is 11, and it's the master number of service. So Neptune here shows you how you can highlight and amplify and expand those areas of yourself that are generous and that are loving and that are kind and that are positive and that are going to elicit a positive response in other people. And you're able to also recognize the parts of yourself where you don't show up as being loving or kind or generous or authentic even. So Neptune here is wonderful in its final day in Pisces, and Neptune moves very slowly. It sits in each sign for approximately-ish 14 years. So the fact that we have this eclipse all about your identity and how it is incomplete and how you can add those final parts to it that have been missing, Neptune is being of service to you by saying, here are the intuitive messages that you can use to heal yourself, to change your dynamic, to change the things that are invisible about you, the energy you give off that isn't tangible. So for instance, something that would be tangible would be your looks, right? And the way people respond to you because of the way you appear, whether you're incredibly beautiful or attractive and people are drawn to that. This is about your spiritual presence and whether that is attractive or whether it's obscured by negativity or trauma or pain or things that are unhealed from the past. And with Venus being in retrograde, it shows you the parts of yourself where you are unloving towards yourself and what you can do now moving forwards over the next 6 months in order to love yourself into being the person you want to be and to be this person who is happy and healed and healthy. We also have the North Node at 26 degrees in Pisces, the South Node and the North Node in a natal chart. So if I draw up your chart by taking your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth, I'll also see the South Node and the North Node. And that shows me where you're coming from on a spiritual level and what's been accomplished already and the direction you're moving into, right? And here the South Node is at 26 degrees in Virgo, 2 and 6 is 8, that's power. And Virgo is a sign that's ruled by Mercury, the communication planet, and it's about analysis and detail and understanding. So what you're kind of basing things on now, moving forwards, are the assumptions you've made about yourself, the things that you have considered to be true when it comes to your own identity. And with the North Node being at 26 degrees in Pisces, again, 2 and 6 is 8, power, in Pisces, how you can use your connection to the higher realms, your connection to your own inner voice, your intuition, your gut feeling, your spiritual consciousness, your spiritual awareness, and how you can use the power inherent in that awareness. And I feel just by thinking of yourself as a spiritual being as well as a human being, you're accessing the power of that just by becoming aware of it. And with the North Node here in Pisces, it shows you the way as to how you can use your own spiritual presence to heal the very earthy physical identity that you embody on this planet in your life. And it's almost like you're able to pull back the curtain and to see what's happening behind the scenes and where things don't work because of a lack of self-love. And you're able to then recognize that, fill the gaps, and say, from now on, I am going to love myself into being this complete individual. And that way, it's going to become much easier for you to be loved, to love yourself, and to take action without being full of self-doubt or indecisive, because you have a complete picture of who you are. Therefore, actions that need to be accomplished and circumstances that need to be completed, you have a full view of those things. As within, so without, as above, so below. This whole thing is about, we're going to end the cycle of being incomplete and unhealed so that we can start the new cycle of taking action based on a self that is complete and that is perfect and that is loved by the self and that functions again in a perfectly healed kind of a way. Saturn is nearby as well. Saturn is at 24 degrees in Pisces. Saturn is structure and security. 2 and 4 is 6. That's a temporary opportunity in numerology. And in Pisces, it's an opportunity to connect with your spiritual self either for the first time ever, and to see the building blocks of it and what you love and what you don't love and how you can change things around. Or it can be that it becomes much easier for you to simply connect on a spiritual level, and that you then get this wonderful overview of yourself as a spiritual being as well as a human being, and to take those dual sides of yourself and to reach this place of unity and harmony where you have complete ownership of what and who you represent in the world, and how you can change that into a version that you're happier with, that you find easier to love yourself. So then we have the new moon in Aries forming several relationships with other things in the chart. So first of all, it squares the part of fortune at 16 degrees in Cancer. And the part of fortune is the thing in the chart that is easiest, where you're luckiest. And at 16 degrees, 1 and 6 is 7, that's the mind and creativity. In Cancer, you're going to be able to get creative with the ways you take care of yourself, with the way you parent and love yourself, so that your inner child is happier and more complete. And again, that you give off this positive vibe that's more consistent. We also have Mars, the planet of masculinity and drive. That sits at 22 degrees in Cancer. And 22 is the master number of the builder. Mars is not happy in Cancer. Mars rules the sign Aries, which is again the first sign of the zodiac. And Mars is masculinity and what you want to accomplish, what you are not going to compromise on, and where you say, I'm going to use all my strength in order to get this. This is mine. This is what I have ownership over. In Cancer, it's forced to take all of that energy and to say, how can I use this and myself in a loving way to take care of my own inner child, of others, and how can I use all my energy to be loving, which isn't that easy for Mars. And at 22 degrees, the master number of the builder, you're able to create new structures that will allow you to take care of yourself in a more consistent way, so that it does all these things that I've mentioned before, that you consistently give off this image of someone who is fully healed, because you've now done the actual work and you've become willing to be nurturing and caring even towards those parts of yourself that you feel are less than perfect, that are blacked out, that are incomplete. So Mars then forms several connections which create a grand trine in the chart. A grand trine is a big blue triangle and it represents an area of talent. So Mars at 22 degrees in Cancer, that trines over to Neptune and Venus in the North Node in Pisces. They trine down to Vesta at 18 degrees in Scorpio. And Vesta represents the hearth, the home, and that then trines back to Mars in Cancer. So the big blue triangle really is in the element of water here, water being spirituality, creativity, connection, love, connection with other people, connection with the ethereal, the invisible parts of life. And Vesta at 18 degrees in Scorpio is, where is my real home within myself? How can I take care of my most shadowy, most hidden inner parts of myself that usually I wouldn't be able to look at? And then it peaks with the North Node and Venus and Neptune saying, I'm now going to use all my spiritual power to continue forward in a way that sees me as someone who's complete and healed and who is not lacking anything. So what this eclipse really does is it completes you. It gives you this sense of inner prosperity and wealth and perfection and abundance, so that it becomes much easier for you to create all of these wonderful things in the real physical world. Let's see if there's anything else here that I want to mention. We have Pluto in Aquarius and Pallas in Aquarius. That is the rebirth of ideas. It's the Aquarius is the sign of the humanitarian and the teacher, and it's also the water bearer. So it's the wisdom to detox and to let go of those things which are unhelpful, which you no longer need, so you can make space to grow into this perfect sense of self that you're now striving towards. Uranus is at 24 degrees in Taurus. Uranus is about transformation and change. And this opportunity of seeing yourself differently is going to mean that your life looks differently as a result. Jupiter is at 15 degrees in Gemini. Jupiter is growth and good fortune and good luck. Again, 15 degrees is 6. And Gemini, the good luck here is that you're able to problem solve. And over the next 6 months, it's almost like you have a second part of your consciousness. There's a sixth sense that's awakened, and you're paying attention to how you show up in situations and how you can show up as someone who is loving in every aspect of their life, so that that love is then returned to you. The strongest mode here is cardinal. So it's about you realizing these things and making changes as a result. And the strongest element is water, closely followed by fire. And these two elements are difficult to balance and to juggle. If there's too much fire, the water evaporates. If there's too much water, the fire goes out. And here it's the perfect balance between the two, as in, I am going to be loving enough to myself to fix the parts of me which have been unseen and neglected and abandoned via the self. And that then leaves me being much more fired up and able to move out into the world and to act and to create circumstances which are going to feel meaningful and like I'm living my life purpose and I'm showing up as the person that I want to be. So this is like an eclipse that's therapeutic in the sense that you're given the courage and the confidence and even the patience to look at parts of yourself that don't work the way you want, where you've been disappointed in yourself. And those things could have been caused by past traumas or difficult circumstances that happened to you and that you then carried around with you without even realizing. And looking at the center of the chart again, the wheel in the middle here, the grand trine has two sextiles on one side, and they include Uranus in this grand trine. So Uranus, again, the things that you heal within yourself during this eclipse over the next 6 months are going to mean that there's like a lightning bolt hitting your practical circumstances, making them more solid, making them flourish and thrive and grow and expand and develop in ways that you want, because you've changed, therefore your circumstances are going to change. So that's what I get for you here during this partial solar eclipse, the new moon in Aries. If you'd like to know which one of your houses this falls into for your particular sign, for your rising sign, for your sun sign, for your moon sign, or you'd like me to have a look at your birth chart and see what it shows me about your weaknesses, your strengths, your life purpose, your vocational aptitudes, what's destined for you in certain areas, money, relationships, friendships, hopes and dreams, please get in touch with me for a personal reading via the website, gregoryscott.com. To draw up your birth chart, I need your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth. If you don't have the time of birth, then please order a chart rectification with me. That's a process where you send me 10 or more significant life events, and based on those events, I'm able to work out your time of birth, and then I have an accurate chart in front of me, which is like a blueprint of who you are, and I can analyze that the same way I analyze this chart and see what it is that you can really capitalize on and what's going to be very easy and what areas may need a little bit more work. To look at what's coming up in future, I look at your progress chart and your transits. And if it's around your birthday, I'm also able to draw up a solar return chart. For the solar return chart, I need your location where you are on your birthday on planet Earth. And it shows me the themes coming up from your birthday this year until your birthday next year. And what's also a wonderful tool is all of these things, the transits, the natal chart, the solar return chart, that's me on Earth looking up. So the perspective is on planet Earth, looking at how the planets were placed and how they interacted at the moment of your birth. The astrocartography reverses that perspective, and I look down at planet Earth, see how the planets were moving over different parts of the planet, and it shows me what locations on planet Earth are going to support you and work for you, and which ones aren't. So if you're considering a move, or if you're in a period of transition where you're trying to figure out what would work for you ideally work-wise, or what's coming up in relationships, or you have any questions at all, please do get in touch with me for a personal reading. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up, please, so that the video shows up in searches. Hit subscribe for more videos in future. And if you think of anyone who you think may be interested in this video and having this information about the eclipse, then please share the video. That's what helps the channel grow. I also do a daily tarot reading on the channel, so if you'd like to watch that, then please become a member of my channel. I hope you have a wonderful time here during this eclipse. All the best, and I'll speak to you soon.